Hello everybody and welcome to the video. So I've just been having an interesting conversation with somebody. They were asking me how do I have any way of proving all of this? Is it just what I've heard other people say? That kind of thing. So do I have any way of proving it? Well, that's kind of the idea about Advaita Vedanta. You're supposed to be able to test it with your own experience. If you watch any of Swami Sarvapriyananda's videos and his classical Advaita Vedanta, it's not just like the modern neo-Advaitans that just deny any sort of path and is just there's no doer and just realize it. He's classical, so he goes his progressive path and lots of steps and Śravaṇa, Manana, Nididhyāsana. So you hear the message, you reflect on it, you ask questions about what you don't understand and things that you just think sound stupid. And then that's the Manana bit. And then the Nididhyāsana is when you're kind of convinced and you just rest in it, in this understanding, and let it blossom in you, basically. So, and he said that that everything you should be able to test in your own experience. This is the idea. That's why I'm interested in non-duality. I come from a background of I was born into a Catholic family, and I still consider myself Catholic. I haven't done any ritual to reject it. So, and we're told things that we have to believe because people higher than us worked them out, or they had insight, or God told somebody about it. Now, Advaita Vedanta is different. It starts with you, especially the direct path. You explore your own existence and you test everything you hear with what you've heard. That's the second step, the Manana part. So, and it is a phenomenological inquiry. It's an inquiry into your personal experience. The person said, do I have any way of demonstrating it? Now, if I could demonstrate it, you would still just have to take my word for it. It's nothing about what I say. You have to work it out yourself. I'm just sharing what I've found useful. And these people, and the guy also hinted, oh yeah, people like you, me, higher. I'm not. I'm not enlightened or anything. I'm just interested in this. I'm sharing what I find interesting. Now, the guy then said, because I responded and he responded, he said he does meditation and he can see that he is prior to thoughts, that thoughts arise. But the question is, why? How can you know it's the ultimate truth? So the ultimate truth. Now, there is something in Advaita Vedanta. There are 4 prerequisites, the things that you need to be able to do, or things that you have that develop along the path. So there are things like a dispassion for the world, a detachment from the world, and they kind of follow on from each other. So, and a discernment about what is real and what is false, what is permanent, what is temporary. And then the third one is a list of 6 virtues. Now, these 6 virtues are things like focus of mind and ability to not get involved in thoughts, but one of them is faith. Now, śraddhā, I think the word is. Now, this faith is not like the faith we have in Christianity. It's just the kind of faith that you have in normal education. So you go to a physics lecture, and first of all, you just kind of assume that what the guy is going to be telling you, what the teacher or professor is going to tell you is, you're just going to be open to the idea first. You're not going to immediately challenge. So it's that. And then you test it with your own personal experience. The ultimate guru is yourself. That is the Sat Guru. It's not this guy, with the white beard and all that. It's the true guru is you yourself. And that's the person that needs to get enlightened. It doesn't matter if the whole world gets enlightened and you don't. Now, in addition, why am I not just talking about what I've learned rather than what other people learn? What other people have discovered? Well, there is actually an idea within the sadhus in the Himalayas. This is what Swami Sarvapriyananda says, that if you make up systems yourself, that's seen as bad. You need to prove everything connects to an Upanishad. It's if what you're saying is original and new, like a lot of modern things now, they have to be new and original: art, music, spiritual teachings, new diets. That's seen as a negative thing. You have to be able to demonstrate how it goes back to the Upanishads, because Advaita Vedanta, Vedanta is the end of the Vedas. The Upanishads are the accumulation of the Vedas. They're the final word that comes out of all this ritualistic, the texts of the Vedas, and they are condensed into the philosophical part, the Upanishads, and that is Vedanta. It's the end of the Vedas. And the Advaita part, or the Advaita if you prefer, is the non-dual version of this. So it is the teaching of the Upanishads. Now, Buddha rejected the Upanishads, and Buddha also rejected there being any sort of ultimate, self, a permanent self, there being this ground of being. No, it's turtles all the way down. It's a bit like in science, you have a table, and the table is not really a table. That's just what we call it. In fact, it's just molecules. And those molecules are not really just molecules. They are atoms, and the atoms are smaller particles, subatomic particles, and those subatomic particles are in fact fluctuations of the quantum fields. And what's going to happen? So each level is non-existent. And the idea is that the further you go, you never find anything. There is no ground. And when the Advaitins will say, yeah, but what's all this? It's here, there's something. It's not just nothing. The Buddhists refuse to comment, because their aim is to remove suffering. That's the priority. It's not speculating about metaphysics. Advaita Vedanta, yes, it has all this stuff about the ultimate reality, Brahman, existence, consciousness, bliss, and Atman, your very self, the consciousness that you are, is the ultimate reality. Everything else is an appearing to Brahman. It's an illusion. You're mistaking the rope that's on the ground for a snake. And when you're enlightened, you realize it's a rope. All the fear of the snake is gone. Now, maybe the guy would be more interested in looking at Buddhism. There are lots of different paths to non-duality, to enlightenment, to happiness, peace. And sometimes the idea of Advaita Vedanta and the idea of a ground of being doesn't appeal to people, and that's fine. There are so many paths. I think it's good. I think if you follow a spiritual path, if you're interested in these kind of questions, then it shows depth. At least as an English teacher, when I meet people who are religious and believe in God, I actually think they're less shallow. That's really what I see in my lessons, when lots of people immediately repeat. There's one girl I had once in a class who was from Colombia, and I said, "Are you Catholic?" Because we were talking about the Bible, and she just didn't know a bit of it. And I said, "Are you Catholic?" She said, "Yes, of course, but I don't believe in God," as if it was a terrible thing. that kind of thing seems shallow to me. And it's certainly not if you're a Buddhist because you've thought about it, but if you're just repeating what everyone else has said, it seems shallow. People who are interested in this kind of thing that I'm interested in, I think are just more interesting people. And I resonate more with the idea, probably because I was brought up a Catholic, and we have Meister Eckhart, the ground of being, we have Thomas Merton and this contemplative prayer, all this stuff, this mysticism. It is probably that's why I prefer the Advaita version of the search for truth than the Buddhist, but I like the Buddhist too. And if you notice, lots of the teachers in non-duality, Eckhart Tolle and Rupert Spira and lots of these people, they just constantly mention Buddha. So it's as if the modern non-dual teachers are a mix of Advaitins and Buddhists and Zen and Taoists, and now also, Christian mystics, the Neoplatonists, they're all getting in. We're all just one mix of this, pulling on all different sources of knowledge. And as they say, as Newton said about, he's only seen further. I'm not saying I've seen further, but he's only seen further because he stood on the shoulders of giants. We can't just rely on, I've become enlightened and therefore I know the truth. You have to test it for yourself. You have to see it for yourself. It doesn't matter if you're watching a video and you see somebody who claims they've been enlightened. That's what the thing that you have to find is that you are enlightened. You are the ultimate reality, not some other person in a video. It's about your search. Finally, I think I've gone on too long, but why is it unlimited in Advaita Vedanta? Well, it's non-dual. There's no second to it. It's unlimited. And you test this through your personal exploration of if the guy does meditation and can see thoughts arising. Well, where are the boundaries to your awareness? Where are the boundaries in time and space? How far can you push back? Can you push back to where you were born? No, you can't. You can push back to a few years after you were born, but people told you existed before that. There are photos, and you start counting at 0. So you did exist before you remember. Will you exist after you die? Who knows? But certainly can't find a boundary. Not that we know of, not something that's been demonstrated. Bodies die, but does the consciousness die? Nobody knows. What about your boundaries in space? Look for your boundaries. Push it as far as you can. The edge of the universe. The stars in the sky. How far in space does your awareness go? Where is that boundary that says, no, here, no more? Well, there's limitation on your eyes. There's limitation on how far you can hear. But is there really any limitation to awareness? And if something is unlimited and it's non-dual, there's no second, everything is this, then it is the ultimate. And that's all I've got to say. I think that went on a bit long. Thank you very much for having patience with me and listening and watching the video. Goodbye.